Hey guys, my name's Adam. I'm a doctor down in Australia, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Nespresso machine and the top 5 important factors to consider before buying to decide is ultimately this the right coffee machine for you. So a little bit about me, I'm an absolute coffee lover, bordering on the edge of addiction. Throughout my years as a medical student and progressing through to working as a junior doctor, as a surgical resident, I've consumed way too much coffee in my life, but now I am trying to cut it down to just 1 coffee a day. Regardless, throughout these years, I've experienced both an espresso machine and more recently, I've decided to trust in George Clooney and I went and bought an espresso machine. And today I'm going to talk to you guys about what I think is important to consider if you're thinking about purchasing one of these yourself. So let's get into it. So the first thing to consider is what are the differences between the Nespresso and the espresso machine. So the Nespresso machine is a pod-based system. So what this means is that the coffee itself comes finely ground within an already pre-packaged pod, whereas an espresso machine, often the beans are as is, and it's required that you grind down the beans first. So the pods themselves are made out of aluminium, and this is really important because it actually keeps the freshness of the coffee, and it does this by eliminating humidity, temperature and oxygen. The aluminium itself is also recyclable, so meaning if you want to be responsible and save the planet, then this is great because you can just take it to a boutique or organize it for it to get picked up, meaning you're not contributing to a lot of waste. Now generally when you do buy the pods, they come in a sleeve of 10. The coffee itself within the pod is very finely ground. Generally you get around 5 to 7 grams of coffee. This equates to about 55 to 65 milligrams of caffeine. And the final thing to consider is the pressure and the temperature of the machines. So for an espresso machine, it works at a pressure of 19 bars. And the temperature itself, there is a different set range that you can use, ranging from warm to quite hot. So espresso itself uses about 18 to 20 grams of coffee ground, and it works at generally between either 9 bars or it can, some of the home machines work at 15 bars of pressure. Now because it does use a lower pressure, although it is using a higher amount of coffee in the grind itself, this equates to a similar amount of caffeine in your end product. The temperature itself is quite similar to the Nespresso machine, so there's not much differences there. So those are the basic differences between the two machines. Point number 2, this is the convenience. I think this is the biggest thing to consider when deciding between an espresso and an espresso machine. An espresso machine, this really falls down in convenience. The reason why is that an espresso machine is very time consuming to use. The espresso machine has to be turned on, and this can take quite a few minutes for it to heat up and get to the right amount of pressure. You then have to do 3 things to prepare your coffee. That includes grinding your beans, unless you've already bought ground beans, but generally people buy non-ground beans and grind them at the time of making the coffee. You then have to do what's called tamping the coffee, and this is where you push down on the coffee to get it to the right pressure and consistency. And the final thing that you do is obviously controlling the pour. So this is where the water is forced through the coffee to deliver the coffee into the espresso shop. Once all of this is done, you then have to clean out the coffee, clean the porter filter, wipe down the stem if you're making a milk-based coffee. And this is all just very time consuming. On the other hand, the Nespresso machine, this is so convenient to use, and this is ultimately why I decided to buy one. It takes seconds to turn on and heat up. You don't have to worry about grinding, tamping, or pouring, anything like that. You obviously have the pre-made pods, which you can just pop in, press the button, and it will automatically deliver the pour for you. You don't have to worry about standing there and timing it and trying to make sure you've got the right time for your pour. It delivers a consistent pour every time. Additionally, if you're using milk, you can just pop on the milk, press a button, and it will automatically froth and heat the milk to your desired temperature. and it delivers a consistent heat every time. Cleaning is really easy as well. There's no porta filters to clean out. You literally just flip up a switch and the pod will fall out, and you just wipe down the stem. Super easy to clean and super easy to use. And for myself, working as a surgical resident, I often don't have a lot of time in the morning.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
So making a quick and easy coffee that's always consistent is just such a blessing. And that's why I have to give the Nespresso top points for convenience. So the third thing to consider is taste. Now, I'd ultimately put the difference in taste more down to the skill of the coffee maker as opposed to the two machines. I think if you have a very skilled coffee maker, then an espresso machine would probably deliver a better tasting coffee. This is because it can deliver a coffee that's more full-bodied in flavor and deliver richer, stronger flavors, as opposed to a Nespresso machine, which delivers a more mild-bodied coffee with flavors that are not quite as powerful as an espresso machine. However, if you're not quite a skilled coffee maker, there are more variable steps in the espresso machine, such as the grinding, the tamping, and the pour. And little variations in these steps can actually lead to quite a large variety in the coffee that's produced. The espresso machine can really fall at this stage. If you've ever had quite a burnt or bitter tasting coffee, that's most likely because one of those three steps, something's gone wrong, and it's led to the poor coffee. So if you're someone who's not that skilled at making coffee and you don't really have the time to invest to learn, then I'd probably say the Nespresso will generally deliver a better tasting coffee. However, if you're someone who's a really skilled coffee maker, can make a really nice coffee, I would probably say that the espresso machine delivers a better tasting coffee. The fourth thing to consider is variety. I think that the variety between the espresso machine and Nespresso machine are actually pretty similar. The espresso machine, you can obviously use any bean and any combination of beans that you want. You obviously just need to grind them up to use for your coffee. The Nespresso machine, you are kind of limited because obviously you're more limited to using the pods. However, they do offer a huge variety of different strengths of pods, different flavors of pods, different styles, so you can have iced coffees or hot coffees. And ultimately, you can also grind beans and take them into a boutique where they'll package them into a pod for you. So really, you can have as wide a variety as the espresso machine. The thing is that takes a lot of effort, going out, buying the beans, going to a boutique store, getting it packaged. That's not something that I personally have time to do. So that does limit the variety a little bit. But as I said, you have such a variety in the pods anyway that Nespresso produce that it doesn't really limit. So I'd say the variety is pretty even between the two machines. And the fifth and final thing to consider is what's right for you. If you're someone who's really into the coffee scene, you're into the culture, you're into the coffee art, if you've got time to try and develop your skills, learn about coffee, all those sorts of things, then an espresso machine is the right thing for you. However, if you're someone like me, if you're really busy, you don't have a lot of time, you just want a quick, convenient coffee, not much preparation, not much cleaning up, and it delivers a nice, consistent coffee each and every time, then I would say the Nespresso machine is the one for you. So anyway, that's my breakdown of the Nespresso machine and espresso machine. Have you guys got one at home? And what do you love about your machine? Let me know. That's it for today. I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.